Before we begin, please note that all images and video reels used in this presentation are AI generated and may not necessarily be accurate to the content discussed. Viewer discretion is advised. Growing up, I was constantly led to believe via the media and Hollywood that Muslims were the most violent, barbaric, and bloodthirsty people in the world, and every terrorist was a Muslim. Being born in South Africa during the apartheid era, and being a non-white myself, I understood that as far as the government of the day was concerned, anyone who was not white was regarded as inferior. My parents protected us from this racism by creating a loving and supportive environment where I was taught that I should respect and treat everyone, irrespective of their ethnicity, race, or religion, equally. Being Muslim and attending religious classes after school, I was taught my religion, Islamic history, manners, respect for my elders and others, and I cannot honestly ever remember a day that any of my religious teachers ever taught me to hate anyone besides the devil for his evil ways. I was taught to fear God's wrath if I lived an evil life, but I was also taught that God is merciful and all-forgiving, so I always had the option to beg forgiveness and earn God's blessings instead of his wrath. As I grew up, I became more curious as to why my religion had been so villainized. As growing up, nothing I was taught by my parents or religious teachers would ever lead me to want to harm anyone, because their beliefs were different from my own. In my high school years, I learned about the struggle of the Palestinian people, but as the internet was non-existent and no cellular service existed, I only learned what I overheard from others regarding the Palestinian plight, and that was not very much. Almost every movie of the day were war movies, American ones, and every single one of them portrayed Middle Eastern Muslims as the bad guy. The sad reality was that I looked forward to watching those films, not yet being able to understand the propaganda behind them. Today, I am ashamed of myself knowing now what I know of the reality around the world. Fortunately, we now live in an age where information is available at the tips of our fingers in the modern digital age. I always ask myself, why has it taken me so long to think for myself and do the homework for myself and discover the truth to so many unanswered questions? With age came a better understanding of the world I live in, and with the resources available, I can finally answer the question of why Muslims are always portrayed as terrorists. Considering the current Israel and Palestinian conflict, I decided to look into the history of terrorism between the Jewish and Muslim communities, and this is what I found. Shockingly, and to my great surprise, Muslim terrorism is a fairly new concept, and contrary to popular Western belief, started out of necessity as fighting for freedom and equality rather than out of hatred and malice. Yes, there are some so-called Muslims who are terrorists and go against every teaching of Islam, but this is a very, very, very small minority. Let's get down to the facts of extremism between the Muslim and Jewish people. Let's look at extremism between these two from the 1900s to the present day. Bar Giora in 1907, the first modern Jewish terrorist organization in Ottoman Palestine, precursor to Has Homer. Guess what? No Middle Eastern or Muslim terrorist organization during this period. Has Homer in 1909, defending illegal Jewish settlements and later merged into Haganah. Yet again, no Middle Eastern or Muslim terrorists during this period. Haganah in 1920, Jewish parliamentary group and terrorists during British-mandated Palestine. They later evolved into the terrorist organization known around the world as the IDF, yet never referred to as a terrorist organization. Surprising, is it not? Guess what? Still no Muslim or Middle Eastern terrorist organizations during this period. Irgun, also known as Etzel, was formed in 1931. This right-wing breakaway from Haganah was responsible for acts of terrorism against the British and Palestinians, including the bombing of the King David Hotel. Lehi, or the Stern Gang, emerged in the 1940s as a radical Zionist terrorist organization. They were behind the assassinations of Lord Moyne and Count Bernadotte. Yet again, there were no Muslim Middle Eastern terrorists during this period. Now it starts getting interesting. From the 1950s, we see even more Jewish and Zionist terrorist organizations begin to flourish. And we start seeing the first alleged Muslim Middle Eastern terrorist groups starting to pop up. But before I give this list, let's look at what actually happened in the Middle East that led to the establishment of these various so-called extremist groups. Iraq, from 1914 to 1918, was invaded by the UK during World War I and had mandate control until 1932. The UK re-invaded Iraq in 1941 during World War II. Then, in 2003, the USA and UK again invaded Iraq after being prompted by Israel and accused Iraq of having weapons of mass destruction, which the world now knows was a total lie on the side of the West. The USA occupied Iraq until 2011 and even kept an ongoing military presence there after allegedly withdrawing. Afghanistan was invaded by NATO, the USA, the UK, and other Western powers in 2001. Their reason was the 9/11 attack on America, which available evidence proves was a horrific, inhumane false flag attack orchestrated by the USA and Israel to justify war against Afghanistan. They remained occupied until 2021. Syria. France occupied them after World War I under the League of Nations mandate from 1920 to 1946. The USA deployed troops in Syria from 2015. The UK and France participated in airstrikes since 2018. Israel repeatedly bombed them and occupied them since 1967. Lebanon, the UK, and Russia invaded them in 1941 during World War II to steal and secure Lebanon's oil and supply lines. In 1953, the USA and UK, through covert action, led a coup and influenced a regime change beneficial to the USA and UK interests. Palestine. The UK occupied Palestine post-World War II, under the British mandate from 1917 to 1948. Invaded by Israel in 1948 and being a Western-backed power, occupies Palestinian territories such as the West Bank, Gaza, and East Jerusalem to this very day. Yemen. The UK controlled South Yemen until 1967. The USA launched airstrikes and drone campaigns against Yemen since the mid-2000s. Libya. Italy placed them under colonial rule from 1911 to 1943. The USA and UK occupied them from 1943 to 1951. NATO, including the USA, UK, and France, instituted military action to overthrow Gaddafi and secure their own greedy interests in the Middle East. Jordan, also known as Transjordan, the UK controlled them under mandate after World War I until they won their independence in 1946. Turkey. Allied powers, including the USA and UK, occupied them after World War I from 1918 to 1923. The USA kept interfering politically and with military alliances such as NATO in their affairs since the 1950s. Now, let's continue listing all Jewish and Muslim extremist groups from the 1950s to the present day. In the 1950s there was Brit Hakanim, a Jewish ultra-Orthodox group opposing a secular state and disrupting public works. Also in the 1950s, the Kingdom of Israel group, a Zionist religious extremist group, was responsible for bombings and assassination plots. In the 1950s we had the Fedayeen, small Arab militant groups attacking Israel in defense of the Palestinian people. Moving on to 1968, the Jewish Defense League, or JDL, was founded in the USA by Meir Kahane. This extremist group was involved in anti-Arab and Soviet attacks. In 1967, the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine emerged. From 1961 to 1977, the Palestinian Liberation Front was active. In 1969, the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine was formed. Lastly, in 1968, the PFLP General Command, an alleged Syrian-backed extremist group, came into existence. From 1971 to 1990, KAK, also known as Kahan Chai, emerged as a far-right Jewish extremist group. They were so extreme that even the USA and Israel banned them, designating them as a terrorist organization. In 1979, the Gush Emunim Underground, a Zionist settler extremist group, carried out bombings targeting Palestinian politicians. In 2002, the Bat Ayin Underground, a Zionist West Bank cell, plotted to bomb and kill innocent young Arab and Palestinian girls who attended an Arab girls' school. Throughout the 2000s, the Hilltop Youth or price tag activists, a loose network of extremist Zionist settlers indiscriminately attacked, killed, and bombed Palestinians and Christian churches. In 2015, the Safan Underground, an extremist Zionist group, was exposed for targeting synagogues and Arab targets. In 2005, Lahava, another extremist Zionist group, was responsible for hate crimes and incitement of violence against Arabs and Palestinians. In 1974, the Abu Nidal organization emerged, allegedly as a splinter group of the PLO conducting assassinations globally. Then in 1981, the Islamic Jihad movement in Palestine, often referred to as PIJ, surfaced. These so-called Islamists aimed to destroy Israel through jihad. Moving on to 1987, we see the rise of Hamas, specifically the Izz ad-Din al-Qassam brigades. This group started as a legally elected political organization, but was later designated as a terrorist organization by the West, Israel, and the USA. Interestingly, Israel initially funded Hamas, and over time, Hamas became the sole group fighting for and defending Palestinian lives and rights against the genocidal actions of the Zionist Israelis. In the 2000s, the Popular Resistance Committees, or PRC, formed as a coalition of armed freedom fighters in Gaza. By 2006, the Army of Islam, or Jaish al-Islam, broke away from the PRC. Then in 2007, Jaish al-Ummah emerged, opposing Hamas. The Mujahideen Shura Council in the environs of Jerusalem, linked to al-Qaeda ideology, operated in Gaza since 2001. Additionally, the al-Nasr Salah al-Din brigades, the PRC's military wing, were involved in cross-border attacks against occupying Israel. I will end this video here and leave it to you, the viewer, to make your own conclusions regarding the information I have provided. All information is publicly available and can be easily verified by anyone with access to the internet. If you have found this video informative and enlightening, then please consider subscribing to my channel, liking and sharing this video.